Well. There's a sight you don't see every day. So, if you couldn't tell, I ran out of storage space in my camera roll. And upon editing the last video, with all the footage I had gathered and used, even with me actually cutting out certain clips, which, albeit were pretty unnecessary to have, it ended up being over 3 hours. So, gonna have to just continue my documentations in this video. And I will make sure that this is the last one of this, well, little highlighting of small business restaurants. Just because, well, I'd really only planned it to be one video, just to cobble them all the clips together. But, oh well. So, it's the next day, from where, leaving off of where I had eaten in the last video at the Vietnamese restaurant, Pho Duong. Okay, that's how you pronounce it. Actually, I'm standing right, not even pointing it at the right damn thing. I'm standing right outside the plaza that it's in. Jesus Christ, we're already off to a iffy start. Yeah. So, it's a very bright day. It's a very beautiful day as far as I'm concerned. The early summer natural colors are starting to come out in a lot of the greenery here in this part of Laval. Okay, so back to stuffing my face with food. Very, very delicious food. And fantastically made food. So, this portion of St. Martin, and oh yeah, I should probably mention, because I cut it out in a clip that was going to be in the last video, but if you couldn't tell, the St. Martin district of Laval is pretty well, or at least as far as I'm concerned, the city's food hub area. It's very high in terms of, well, restaurant density, in terms of how many there are, and specifically with small business restaurants to some singular mega corporate restaurants. But unfortunately, as I'll showcase later in the video, I'm not gonna highlight it the most, as I typically do. But well, gentrification obviously happens here as well. And in this part of, well, St. Martin, which is closer to the central area of the district, it's the amount of restaurants is unbelievable. Like, one after another, just all in a row. Some of them just taking up entire plaza spaces. So, yeah. Okay. Now, Let me pick which 3 restaurants I'm gonna eat at today. Okay. Oh, as well as I'm gonna highlight from the last video that Quebecois culturally themed restaurant that I was at, or the second restaurant I went to in the last video in the district of Pont-Veilleux, when I was leaving it, they have a second location here in St. Martin. So, neat. Okay. So, I'm outside of a restaurant called Cabana, and it seems to be, well, if going based on just the decor-wise, aesthetically, it has more of a, I guess they're going for maybe a Hawaiian American or maybe a Caribbean feel, but, well, food-wise, okay, yeah. Oh, maybe Caribbean. Caribbean obviously mixed with Canadianized food, but I am definitely going to this place first because, my god, if this is what they have, these are very interestingly designed and very creatively designed, well, dishes and sweets. So, okay, let's try this place. This looks absolutely riveting. I have no other words to describe it. So, I got a Tunisian style crepe. It's basically a crepe stuffed with cheese, harisha spice, and thon. I don't know what that is. It might be a, well, a leafy green vegetable of some kind, and topped with what appears to be maybe parsley leaves and black olives, as well as, I think this is a avocado smoothie with chocolate in it, and I don't know what the topping here is, but my god, does it look and smell delicious. So yeah, I'm going to dig into this as immediately as possible. Well, I guess you can tell. I loved it. Or I'm loving it. I haven't finished it. So, this place easily, in terms of this dish, is the best, well, one I've had out of all the places I've been to so far. So it tops that Iranian shisha bar, Adama, or Adma, for food. My god. So, the thon, actually, I guess it's French. It's actually French for tuna fish. Because tuna is a meat in here, along with the cheese and the harisha. I'm already forgetting how to say the spice's name. The harisha sauce. I'm not suffering. The harisha spice. It's got a nice, very pungent kick to it. Not pungent, that's not the right word for that. Hey, I'm jumbling over my words because of how immersed I've been in the food. So a real strong spicy kick to it. And the toppings on this smoothie is, I think, lime salt. So, culturally, this place seems to be just a complete mix of various thematics from around the world. So, decoration-wise, aesthetically, like I said, it seems to be more Caribbean influenced, as well as certain dishes, but in terms of food, fusion of Quebecois and French, like European French culture. They mainly specialize in making crepes, sweet and also savory, I guess you could call it, like this one. But with that, the fusions for the crepes vary. I said there's some Caribbean, Jamaican style food. There's this Tunisian crepe, which is absolutely delicious. There's, I think, more Western European, so German and French, traditional French style crepes. And then what appears to be, I guess, some amount of maybe Ethiopian inspired food in terms of what's in the crepes, or maybe even Eritrean. Not entirely sure on that though. So Northeast Africa. And in terms of radio play, well, for the most part, it seems that they've been playing Indian style music, mainly Indian pop music, and because I believe most of these, many of the songs before, and this one, lyrics are in Hindi. Well, maybe not this one. Well, right now I'm just listening to the string instruments, which are beautiful. But, yeah. It's just a complete fusion of various cultural cuisines from around the world. And for a small business restaurant, the food is actually relatively cheap. It's mainly, most of the dishes and drinks range from being singularly $9 to $10, which is a bit more expensive, obviously, than your average mega corporate restaurant branch, obviously, but not near as expensive as a lot of other small business restaurants, usually ranging from maybe like $15 to $20 per dish, or even for drinks, maybe on average $12 to $13 for some of them. So, yeah, this is easily the best place I've eaten at so far. I guess I'd advise anyone who might be a bit deterred by the, I guess some people might consider it clashing aesthetic. One, not entirely. And two, it's true what they say, don't judge a book by its cover. Perfect. This is without a doubt the best washroom I've ever set foot in my life. Oh my god, they've even got a three-dimensional painting. Holy hell. Okay, so next stop, Rahov. No, I pronounced that completely wrong. Rahova Slovaki. It's a Greek-themed restaurant, and, well, specifically, I guess, the main meat course would be Slovaki. It's right next to a Iraqi supermarket. Oh, there might even be a cafe in there. Okay, maybe I'll actually stop in there to check out and see if there's any items I want to get. Alright. So, this wants to take a while to guess what I'm going to say. It looks fantastic, delicious, scrumptious, all the other words to describe tasting very good. And it's incredibly well made. And for the most part, except for maybe some amount of ingredients of the ingredients in the salad, it's very authentically made. It's not using artificial ingredients. It's absolutely authentically made. But yeah, and I got was a Greek spinach pie, spenagopita, and Greek style potatoes, and just feta Greek salad. And I guess there's also some what's the name of it? No, it's not tahini. It's tzatziki sauce on the side. Yeah. And I also ordered a chocolate cheesecake because, yeah, sugar addiction relapse is still occurring, but oh well. Okay, I'm gonna dig into this. Yes, I finished the cake before I finished the main friggin' meal. Don't come at me, shut up. So, as usual, it's delicious. Spanakopita has always been my favorite Greek dish. I thought about maybe trying Slovakian this time, but I was like, nah. Interestingly though, I actually did not know until recently what specifically Slovaki was. I knew, what, now knowing the name, I knew what it was in terms of Greek and Balkan European food dish. I knew what it was. I just didn't know its name, and that dish was Slovak. I had initially thought that it might have been a style of preparing food common to southeastern Europe. Oh goddamn, that cake's coming up. No, not actually. I thought it might have been a style of food preparation that was common to southeastern Europe, but apparently not. However, Slovaki is what it is, kebab style meat skewer, is common throughout the Balkans in Europe, so Greece, Albania, North Macedonia, Bulgaria, Turkey, obviously, as well. And probably also common in Bosnia and Herzegovina and maybe probably Kosovo as well. But Balkan region style meat dish. But I went with spanakopita, and this is yes, it is. Thank you. Well, it's probably the second best Greek spinach pie I've ever had. crust is very similar, at least on this. It's very similar to that of many Syrian or Lebanese sweets, such as, like, well, the easiest one I can point to being baklava, which they also sell. In fact, they actually have a baklava style cheesecake. Don't worry, I'm not ordering it. But well, the chocolate cake that I ordered, it wasn't actually, it wasn't a chocolate cheesecake, it was just chocolate cake. So, my mistake, read it wrong. And it was just, that one was just store-bought. But it was still good, very good. While I'm here, okay, might as well talk about this. For something to discuss. So, I think I'll explain a bit more on one of my newfound philosophies. Because I mentioned it in my 5th scientific proposals video before I left Ottawa. Because many of you are probably, well, if you're watching this video and you've watched the last one, probably saying to yourself, Cam, aren't you impoverished? How are you affording all this food? Must be taking a toll on your bank account. To some degree. Yeah. But here's the thing. As I mentioned in the 5th scientific proposal video, one of my newfound philosophies is I'm going there to lose money over there. So let me, I guess, elaborate a bit more on that. The system of capitalism, with how extensive, and especially in what is called now late-stage capitalism of the modern world, in the way the global economy is for every country on this planet, pretty well just outright. It is entirely tailored to benefit, create a monopoly of employer over employee, and securitization of, well, those of private establishment over those who work for said private establishment, as well as the securitization of high amalgamation of wealth, a trade currency that is used amongst a society to determine, well, the negotiation of goods and services, commodities. It securitizes those who have a mass amalgamation of said wealth over those who do not. On the basic principle of just literally being able to obtain, necessities for someone's basic survival. So, and in accordance with that, the mass extent that heavily expansionist corporations the heavy extent that they've reached with their constant buying up of land, mass privatization, and mass mass pair deals as well with other corporations and economic entities, which include moderate corporations and even small businesses, is what I'm getting to. One way or another, many times, sadly, because people, well, because of indoctrination and psychological trauma, conform to constantly paying and purchasing and feeding into this system. One way or another, the money that you spend in this world, it's gonna funnel straight back to these corporate elitists that have utilized the ideological principles of the system for their benefit and have garnered governmental influence to create laws and legislative protection for their actions. Things that protect their economic ventures. Just allowing them to do this. And to some degree, so in this regard, to some degree, the world is dependent on large corporate entities for, let's see, large corporate entities for, well, some amount of distribution, because they have a mass hold on the stock supply as well of a multitude of different items. Point being, one way or another, you, me, small business owners, post-secondary students who are most often thrown into complete debt in a majority of countries of the world, I would say, where loans are slowly paid back to said educational institutions. One way or another, we're all losing money. Everyone except mass elites of the world, financial elites, and governmental elites, both of them. Because most often, the governmental elites are also the economic elites who wiggle their way into the mass political landscape just to put in, as I said, put in place laws that benefits theirs and their colleagues' capitalistic desires. It tailors it to them. So, no matter what I do, I'm going to be losing this money anyway. Now you may think, oh, but Cam, well, you don't have to buy all this. You can eat one meal a day, which, yeah, I have done. But you can save that amount. Maybe eat once a day or once every 2 days. Or go to the grocery store and buy a bunch of... You have a cooler, and you already did this before when you left Ottawa. You bought a bunch of food to keep with you for when you didn't purchase at restaurants, or purchase any items from restaurants. So you can eat that, and you can just stock up. Right? Well, no. Okay, let me ask you. Okay, I'm buying up all this food that I'm putting in this cooler, which I have, and which I've done, and which, yeah, at points I will still do, obviously. But you're buying up this food, and then, okay, you're gonna eat it. You're gonna eat it the next day, some amount of it, and then the next, and then the next, and then the next. And let me tell you, if you do that, okay, storing up for food, to some degree, yes, is good in very harsh times, or maybe food is more scarce. But two things. One, food spoils. I don't think many people really understand that, even those who aren't homeless or who aren't in a financially burdened situation, say, well, not as much of a financially burdened situation, say those of more standardized middle class, or even to some extent upper middle class, who maybe have a bit of a weariness of how much they consume food-wise, and think, okay, we gotta buy a bunch of this just so we can save it. Okay, food spoils. You can't just endlessly stock up, and think that it's just gonna last indefinitely. Trust me, I tried that. I didn't really take that into account, especially when I was in the village of Crow's Landing, Ontario, when some of my food spoiled. I bought up quite an extensive amount to last me. I think, okay, I'll save on groceries. I thought my mindset was I'll save on groceries for maybe a week and a half to 2 weeks if I keep these in the freezer, or I keep these in the fridge long enough, or just keep the bread, like maybe eat 1 or 2 slices of bread a day, or maybe 3 slices, and then save the other things in the freezer. Then it occurred to me, once I take it out of the freezer, it's going to spoil a lot quicker once the water starts to seep into it. Especially vegetable products and fruit products. And some amount, that includes also bread products too, to some degree. So, that didn't really work. And also, okay, I save this food in my cooler and then I eat it. And then eventually it runs out. Okay, well now I'm just gonna have to go buy more again. And I don't have a job at the moment, so I'm not making any income. So the money I have is just sitting in my pocket. And you may think, okay, well that's good, that's the point, right? Well no, what else am I gonna use the damn money for? What else am I using it for? What I'm gonna use it for once I run out of the food is to go buy more food. And even if I had some form of stable income, a job occupation of some kind, what I'm gonna do is save that amount of money to some degree, or this is what this is what most people's ideals in a conformist sense, or in a pragmatic sense, feel in terms of so-called economic pragmatism, or no, I guess this would count more as, idealism. Because to some degree, I am a pragmatist. I'm a moral pragmatist as far as I'm concerned. Most people think, okay, I go to my job, I save up a certain amount with whatever account I have open at whatever bank branch. I then ration out my spending for groceries, for electronics, for clothes, for if I have a housing unit, because not everybody who has a job has a house. Just because you're homeless doesn't mean you're moneyless. Or doesn't mean that you're jobless. So, let's say you do have a house, okay, paying for billing for central heating, water supply, hydro, general maintenance if something was to get damaged, structural support of the house if it needs a repair, just these sorts of general, to some degree, yes, necessities, the general necessities. What's going to happen as far as I'm concerned? You save it, then you go to the grocery store and you spend it. And at the same time, you're going to spend it on the heating bill that comes in at the end of the month, as well as the hydro, and the water, any amount that you use, as well as you're going to spend it, so let's say in what the amount of streaming services there are, and if you have maybe some amount, even if it's a cheaper one, or not as largely prolific streaming service, well, you're still paying for it at the end of the month, or every 2 months, depending on what their deal is. You're still paying for it. So you're going to spend that money, and then you're going to go back to your job just to regain the finance that you lost. And you're not going to get a raise. You're not going to get that damn raise that you're hoping for. Or so-called work your way up the chain of command in a corporation, especially not a mega expansive corporation that has 500 locations across a country, or internationally has like 5,000 locations. You actually think you're going to work your way up to CEO? Most likely not. And if someone is promoted, as far as I'm concerned, in most regards, in any sort of expansive monopolizing branch, it's usually just to a slightly higher position, say maybe a branch supervisor thing, or maybe even regional manager. It's done to incentivize the other workers who are also working just as hard as you, as far as I'm concerned, on a physical level, and to some degree, obviously putting their psychological effort into certain things. Oh no, I'm thank you. I think I've been losing track of how long I've been talking. Anyway, it's done as an incentive to make people think that they're getting somewhere. Keep working in our corporation, and maybe you'll have a chance at higher finance. This competitive bullshit that's completely against human nature. So, as far as I'm concerned, I'm losing the money one way or another. So are you, so is everyone else, except those who profit from it. So I'm not consciously entirely concerned about it. I'm weary, yes, obviously I'm not out here spending $100 a day, at least. Well, actually, no, technically kind of am at once. I'm not blowing like $500 a day, whatever else. I'm not blowing $500 a day. food. And this is really just a special occasion, I guess, because I've been doing this for nearly a week now, and it's specifically for showcasing these different businesses, which is something I want to support. So, thought that just warranted a bit more of an explanation. I'm going over here to lose money over here. So is everyone. Almost everyone. Except for the top 1%. Okay, I'm gonna finish eating this. If I can fit it into my damn stomach. So, bit of change of plans again. It's the next day. Yeah, so yesterday after eating at the Greek restaurant, I ultimately decided that, you know what, I'm full for the day, and I'm not going to push my luck this time in terms of overeating and, well, expanding my stomach lining far too much and making myself feel rather uncomfortable. So I waited till today to visit any other restaurants, but this time I will actually try and visit 3 and order smaller dishes just for each of them. Then again, my definition of small in terms of proportions for food and most average people's is, yeah, it's probably fluctuating. But anyway, so next stop, the first stop for today is Mafil. I believe that's how you pronounce it, or Mefil. And it's an Indian cuisine restaurant, similar to Tandoori Palace, though I'm pretty sure this one might be more Eastern Indian themed. So, alright. I am starving because, this will be my breakfast, and once again, it's 1:03 in the afternoon, so it's not going to be a morning meal, because I never seem to actually arise fast enough for that. Alright, so I ordered just a Rogan Josh, which I've never had before, as well as just 2 vegetable samosas, and along with that some chai masala tea, which I have not had in a very, very long time, which I'm very excited to try. And so I've never had Rogan Josh before. It's common in Eastern Indian cuisine as well as Kashmiri cuisine, which, as I've looked at the menu, and apparently this place it's not just serving Indian cuisine. It mainly does, but it's technically also a fusion restaurant because there's Eastern Indian cuisine as well as some Northern Indian dishes, plus that of Kashmiri dishes and Bangladeshi food as well. And I contemplated getting something that's kind of a mix, and well, technically Rogan Josh is eaten, from what I know, it's common in Bangladesh too, but well, it's not specific to Bangladeshi cuisine, obviously. It mainly comes from Indian cuisine. But either way, I am very, very, very hungry right now. I'm just waiting for my stuff to cool down, just so I can try it. Say it with me. It's fantastic. Oh, that's all I have to say about it. Okay, just for good measure, because I've never tried this before, I ordered a salted lassi, which has cumin, Indian black salt, and I believe might also have some, not, maybe garam masala? I think it's a masala of some kind. But, yeah, I've never had it before, and I want to try it, so. Wow. It's got a sour kick to it. It's quite good. Well, nothing like spicy food accompanied by a spicy drink. I'd actually forgotten that chai masala tea was quite spicy, I guess, traditionally. Or maybe, well, maybe the ones that I've had before were just not near as spiced as what I just consumed. But anyway, to sum up, the food was delicious. I didn't really feel like talking because, well, I just wanted to enjoy it. And also, I was the only one in there at the time of me just having the meal. And other than the music that was playing, it was me, well, the owner, and the cooks that were in the kitchen, and I didn't want to really disturb the silence. But just to comment on specifically the samosas they made. I don't know if you could see too well from what I was showing from the bite I had taken out of one of them. But it was not, I wanted to highlight that because I think one thing that can really demonstrate how much care actually goes into the preparation of food in terms of a multitude of small business restaurants. In terms of like deep fried dishes, for me it's looking at like how fried have they made it, in terms of, it might sound strange, but for me personally, I always enjoy it much more in terms of nutritional benefit and from a emotionally satisfying meal, both for me, from my perspective. If, let's say French fries, if it's mainly potato and not the deep fried grease, basically. It's like, because it's so obvious in, say, like, mega corporate restaurant chains. Most often, ones that are more Americanized in terms of food cuisine. The French fries will be 1% potato and 10% just deep fried grease. Just whatever the crispy remnants of, well, whatever oil they're using to actually fry and coat the potato in. And that is, well, accompanied by, obviously, the mass amount of artificial flavonoids and preservatives that mega corporate chains use. Speak of the devil. Well, in terms of when I've often eaten at small business restaurants that are American themed or Canadian themed that serve French fries, or just any restaurant that accompanies whatever dishes they're making with French fries, or any other deep fried, or say deep fried chicken, things that are more common in, say, black cultural cuisine, or like, say, Southern American, black Southern American cuisine, or I'd guess technically, well, soul food, I guess. Well, yeah, there is fried stuff in soul food, but anyway, just dishes that are fried. Many small businesses that I've been to, they don't overpower the whole damn the item that's being fried in terms of whatever food product they're frying. They don't overpower it with the crispy grease, many of them. And just in terms of, well, the Indian / Bangladeshi fusion and Kashmiri fusion restaurant that I just went to, well, I could tell with the way they had prepared it that, yes, they did not overpower it, and they only fried it just enough to make it so that it coats the actual interior of it, like the vegetables and the spices inside of the samosa. I know it might seem like an insignificant thing to most people, but I think maybe many who are a part of, like, say, who either work in or are affiliated with, well, smaller restaurant chains, or maybe in specifics to, say, small fast food businesses, well, I think you might be able to understand what I'm talking about. Like, how it's very obvious to me that actual care was put into making the food in that, well, from that context. That's all. Oh. And since, well, I'm on my way now to eat at a Japanese sushi restaurant. I showcased it briefly, just the exterior, in the last video, but while I'm on my way there... Alright, so another correction that I'm going to have to make, just remembered, now getting over to the actual restaurant. In the last video, when I was just showing, actually, well, the 3, and then I thought at the time 4, but going in there, and going into Amda, it's not Egyptian or Lebanese themed really remotely, more Iranian. But anyway, when I was showcasing the 3 Lebanese restaurants that were literally right next to each other, like within very, very close proximity to each other, I also mentioned this Japanese sushi bar. But I got its name wrong. I thought it was called Asuka Sushi Bar, but it's apparently called Osaka. I thought that was an A, not an O, until I actually looked on Google Maps. So, my mistake. And unfortunately, that means I cannot make a Neon Genesis joke. And I probably am not creative enough to even think up one right now if I tried. So, humblest apologies to any Evangelion fans. So, I ordered a dish called smashi, which I never had before. For the very few times that I've been to a Japanese-themed restaurant. Basically, from what I read on the menu, it's, well, some form of vegetable broth with a variety of seafood, shrimp, salmon, red snapper, which I believe is a fish that is mainly common in Japan. Or specifically, I know I've heard the name before, and I think it's indigenous to Japan only. But don't quote me on that. And scallops as well. And apparently they top theirs with mushroom. I don't know if that's traditional for the dish, but it looks damn good. And initially, well, they lay out chopsticks, and I took them out because I thought, well, I may have to just use these, well, to eat it. And let me tell you, I am no master with using chopsticks. I am horrendous at it. But thankfully, the bowl and the plate it's on came with a Eastern Asian style soup spoon. But you know what? If I level down the broth, I think I'll maybe I'll have some practice with the chopsticks and see how I do. But anyway, let me try this. I'll let you fill in the blank of what I said. That broth is really damn good. In fact, that's the best broth of any soup dish I've ever had in my life. Damn, that is amazing. Now, interestingly enough, as I said, I've not been to, in my lifetime so far, a large amount of Japanese restaurants in neither Canada nor the United States when I was living there. When I was younger. I believe actually, yeah, I've specifically only been for this to 2 other Japanese restaurants. One in Fargo, America, when I was living there, to eat, and I don't remember much of it. And from what I do remember of it, I think it was more of an Americanized Japanese restaurant that wasn't completely authentic. It had a hefty American unauthentic influence, like in terms of culinary adaptation for catering to more, well, white American customers. But and the second Japanese restaurant that I ever went to before this was in Ottawa when I was staying there now nearly 2 months ago. And not to eat, just to drop off my resume in hopes of potentially gaining employment there, which didn't end up happening. So yeah, those are the only 2 other times that I have been to a Japanese restaurant. But, well, as far as this goes, well, I'm happy that my first time eating at an authentic Japanese restaurant, I'm happy that this, well, so good. Yes, I know I went to a sushi bar and did not order sushi, but actually I have never had standard, well, fish sushi. I've only had vegetarian sushi. Now, for those who are maybe thinking like, oh well, good that you didn't have standard sushi because it's raw fish and that can be very dangerous for you. Or in the boat that I guess, in terms of my ignorance, was in years before, of being a bit turned off by, well, the idea of eating undercooked raw fish. Actually, for anyone out there who's saying that, because years ago I learned this, that learned otherwise, that's ignorance, cultural misconception. Firstly, in terms of actual authentic Japanese food, like in Japan, depending on the region of the country, not all sushi dishes are actually, not all of them are raw fish. There are actually some sushi dishes that have cooked fish to have more thoroughly cooked fish than, say, standard sushi that I guess you'd maybe find in Tokyo or Kyoto or other larger cities in Japan. It's blanking on me right now. But there are actually other sushi dishes that do have cooked fish in them. But as for the ones that have raw fish, it's not dangerous when it's actually prepared properly in terms of authentic Japanese cooking. I don't know how it's made, but it is prepared and has been done so for centuries. It's made in a certain way of preparation to where it is actually safe for human consumption, the raw meat, so that it's not, whatever the potential bacterium could be in the raw fish, or even potential parasites. It's prepared so that they're killed off, basically, and that it won't actually, the raw flesh won't interfere with your, disrupt your digestive tract, and, so that it's safe for your consumption. So that's a misconception that sushi is dangerous to eat. Improperly prepared sushi, yes, is highly dangerous. But properly made sushi, my finger is in front of the camera. I did not realize that. Properly made sushi is completely safe for human consumption. So, just thought I'd clear that up, because there's a kind of a worldwide misconception in that regard. And interestingly, just on the basis of me not having visited very many Japanese restaurants, being here in North America, another reason that might be is because, well, I haven't tried avoiding them, obviously. Of course not. But just in terms of locale, I think it's fair to say there's not very many in North America, or Europe, or South America. Really, actually, there aren't. For the population that Japan has, which I think is about, what now, 50 million? I think Japan might have a population of 50 million. I mean, I know in terms of building structure, Tokyo is the biggest city in the entire world. But in terms of population, Japan is not, it's not the, well, it's not, it doesn't have a very high population in terms of, well, it actually has a decreasing population overall. But as of current. But in terms of the Japanese diaspora outside of Japan, it's not very high. It doesn't have a very high emigration rate out of the country. Might have to do as well culturally, because Japan is it's more reserved in terms of preservation of cultural traditions, and the government, the federal Japanese government has in my opinion, horrendous immigration laws for just those wanting to become citizens of the country actually getting in for many nationalities, for specifically moving there. So but well, it's actually rather interesting, because Japanese culture has heavily influenced much of the Western world in terms of very much in terms of internet culture and subcultures, as well as urbanized fashion to some degree, and also architecture, and well, obviously weeb culture, and I don't mean that in any sort of derogatory way, at least not, well, anime culture and weeb culture, you know what I mean. I don't, okay, you know what, I'm gonna shut up with that. Let's see if I can actually use the chopsticks, if I can actually control them right. Let's see. Okay, I already don't think I'm doing a good job at this. Yeah, that's not working. I'm trying to grab the salmon. Why is this the most frustrating thing that I have done in the very recent times of my life? Oh my god. Okay, no, you know what? Here, I think maybe I hold it this way. If I clamp it between 2 fingers each. Let's try that. Had it. I've successfully broken the salmon into 1,000,000 pieces. Okay, you know what? Maybe the salmon is just a little bitch. Nope. The red snapper is also... Oh, there we go. I don't think I did that right at all, but I got it. Whoa. That's an interesting taste. I've never had red snapper before, obviously. Oh, I got another one. Oh. It's got a very mushy texture. We're gonna be here for a while, folks, I think. Let me grab the scallop, please. can't be hard. It's flat and bulbous. Let me grab it. Thank you. Alright, I'm going to give this a bit more practice. Hopefully, my skills will slightly improve. And I say slightly because I do not think I'm going to make much progress at all. And I also ordered some green tea mochi, which is a Japanese style ice cream. I was going to order red bean ice cream, but they were out of it. And then I tried ordering ginger mochi, but they were also out of it. So, either way, I'm not complaining, because it looks damn delicious. But let me try this. Okay. Sorry, never mind. That was wrong. This isn't mochi. It's just, it's frozen Japanese ice cream. As from what I know of mochi, it's a bit stringier of ice cream. It's more, it's a good way to describe mochi. I've had it before. I know that's definitely not what this is. Pasty, I guess, is a way you can describe it. It's sort of, it's not, well, not stringy. It's more pasty, I guess I would say. It's not as, it's not as melty. It's more thick type ice cream. And also not as cold, if I'm remembering correctly. But either way, this is damn delicious. Okay. I'm going to finish eating this. And then later in the night, move on to the last restaurant for the day. So. I don't know what else to say. Alright, so last stop for the day, Tasty Laval, or at least it says Restaurant Tasty here, but according to the map, it's called Tasty Laval. And it seems to be culturally, it's more of a Canadianized burger restaurant. So, in we travel. Holy shit. This is some of the best looking Canadianized slash technically, well, American style food that I've ever seen. So, aesthetically, you can see, and culturally, it's very much American and urban Canadian inspired. And also, I noticed on the menu some Lebanese dishes as well, where they had an option for, it said the Lebanese burger, so they had an option for it, as well as a chicken dish that I think was also technically Lebanese. So, but my god, this looks incredible. And they also, and I don't see many even small business American restaurants that do this with their burgers in terms of, well, the buns they use. Like this place used a sesame coated burger bun with black sesame seeds and white sesame seeds. And I just thought I'd point that out. I don't see that too often, even in smaller businesses. And I don't know what sauce this is, but well, I'll find out soon enough. But I'm glad that I stopped here for, well, my last place of the day. That is one of the best burgers I've ever had. Hands down.
funny. For some reason, eating this actually gives me a bit of nostalgia almost. Because someone in my family will remember this. When I was younger, living in America, in Fargo, there was this quite popular in the downtown area, from what I recall, a small business fast food joint. And quite literally, it wasn't a sit-in restaurant. They had some picnic tables surrounding the perimeter that it was, well, where this business was stationed. But it was mainly just a drive-through restaurant that was a very, very small in terms of the building structure that they were stationed in. It was like the size of a shed, almost. A small shed where they had just a grill and I'm sure some fryers and things of the sort, and also refrigerators and freezers just to, well, keep the produce and the beef and things of the sort. And it was called Burger Time. I'll check on the map. I have no clue if it's still open. But on certain long car rides through the city in the downtown area, me and one of my parents would sometimes drive by there and just get something to eat, sit in the parking lot and eat, well, order burgers usually. But what made it so unique in terms of its cuisine was the fact that they had, for this very, very small restaurant that was a small business, I do not believe they were in any form expansionist. I think they solely had one location. Their burgers were ginormous. They were the biggest burgers I've ever seen or had in my life. Like, they were, and I'm not making this up, they were... Okay, you see the tray? They were maybe... they were like a little more than half the size of the tray. I'm not joking. And they were delicious. As far as I can recall, mainly they were authentically made, authentic Midwest American style beef patties. And say Midwest, even though, side note, that's a really odd geographical name for the United States. Call it the Midwest, well, it's actually the mid-north of the continental United States. Anyway, thought I'd point that out. But anyway, they had the best burgers I've ever had in my life. And after eating one, sometimes I wouldn't even be able to finish just a single patty one because they were so ginormous. Literally, if you had like a traditional, say, like an English china plate, they would take up the whole damn plate. That's how big the size was. And for some reason, eating this Swiss and mushroom burger just reminded me of it. Not taste-wise, it doesn't taste anything like how I recall their food, Burger Time's food, tasting. But I don't know, it just reminded me of it. Also, to find a rather thick fry. To demonstrate what I meant, what I was talking about earlier in terms of the fry coating, the crispy grease on the potato fries. Like that. See? Not massively thick grease coating, lightly fried in deep fryer. Not like just keep it in there as long as possible so that it gets built up all the crispiness and leaves zero amount of the actual vegetable. Then we'll slather it in friggin' salt, in artificial and heavily modified salt. Just literally dip it in it and then serve it to the people who come to us for a cheap meal. And this sauce, I have no clue what it is, but it tastes like, actually tastes like tartar sauce. It doesn't look like tartar sauce, to me at least. It's great with this as far as I'm concerned. No clue. I was going to talk about something else in this portion of the video, but no. I'll save it for tomorrow. As I'm going to try and do 3 restaurants tomorrow. And those will be the last, like, one after the other in one day amount that I do for this video. And then I'm going to do one more restaurant next day, and that'll be the last one I showcase out of the 2 videos I will now have made showcasing the outstanding food of this portion of Laval. Alright. See you probably in the afternoon tomorrow, not the morning. I highly doubt it.
Good afternoon. So, my sleep last night was fine, except for a bit earlier in the night. So, as I mentioned in the last video, I'm camped out right now, my tent and Cardi B and all my gear, in a little grass field that's on the southwest corner of the downtown area that borders St. Martin, which is where I am right now. And it's very secluded, but problem, I just realized. It seems that I may have put my tent over an ant colony. And not just any ants. Fire ants. And there weren't very many in my tent, no. But in the dark, well, they're obviously small enough and blend in enough for me not to see them. And, well, on top of that, if you saw my nudism video when I was in rural Quebec on the hillside, you know that I sleep naked. Ow. But anyway, Then, on top of that, I figured, you know what, since I'm heading to, well, now I'm in the central area of the St. Martin district, there's a gym branch around here that when I first was in Laval, I managed to get a shower at. One of the employees who was working that day, the front desk, I just told them, well, hey, I'm a homeless nomad. If it's at all possible, I'd like to just use your showers. And they were incredibly nice and just said, go right ahead. And I was hoping to do that again, or try doing that again. So, but before doing that, I decided to go to the public library down in the southwest end of downtown Laval, and just charge my devices and things of the sort. And I had brought this bottle of cream soap that's about from here to here. It's basically, the bottle is the size of my head. It's very full, which I had purchased in Ottawa, and I've had it ever since. Thistle. And well, I figured, you know what, I'm just gonna leave it like out at this bench that's just, it's sandwiched in between the public library and a medical clinic that's not open to the public, that you have to be referred to. It's for, well, motor sensory issue impairment and clinical treatment, and possibly for amputee treatment as well. But anyway, so I left it there. I went inside, and I was sitting right by the window of the second floor of the public library as my phone was charging, reading a book. And, well, I was only in there for about an hour, and I could have easily just looked out the window to keep an eye on it. But, obviously, trying to break my social paranoia, I figured, nah, whatever. I go back out after I'm done doing what I was gonna do, and it's gone. And I asked the public library attendants if they may have had external security cameras, just to, well, if they could rewind it just briefly so I could see who might have taken it. But they were like, yeah, we actually don't have access to them, so, oh well. So, that sucks. Guess I'm not having a shower today. I'll go pick up some more at some point. Probably tomorrow. Because tomorrow I'm actually going to try and head into the downtown area and film and talk about that portion of the city, which I've neglected to do for my whole time being here so far. And also just things I've researched about it. But for now, continuing on showcasing small business restaurants. But before I do so, speaking of surveillance equipment, I just want to showcase these guys. Because I've noticed them. I first thought, okay, maybe this is a small business as well in terms of manufacturing and distributing camera and surveillance well, tools and systems. I thought it was a small business, but nope, they are a mega corporation that just has, or at least a moderate corporation that has just a small headquarters in this building in St. Martin. And I know that they are very, well, they definitely make a lot of profit, because when I was in the industrial area of the city and various other parts of the northern end of the city, I saw their, well, different corporate facilities advertising or just stating that, hey, we have this security system. We have this company's security. Stay off our property, no trespassing. And it's plastered all throughout the northern end at various, well, company properties. But I just like to highlight their name. Big Brother surveillance with CCTV grade recording equipment or CCTV grade satellite connection. Really? That's not ominously terrifying in the slightest. And yeah, it might look like, okay, from where it's located, a small business that doesn't make a lot of profit. No, they have mass deals very clearly with a lot of very, very high-end companies within the city. And in the industrial area, factory compounds. Gotta love ultra-capitalism. And you do realize, the main point actually here, you do realize that Big Brother was the totalitarian dictatorship in 1984, right? In both the book and the film. Alright, enough of that nonsense. So, first restaurant of the day, which was the second restaurant that I actually went to in Laval when I first got here, is Chunbo Express. They're oh, sorry. They're a Chinese restaurant, and as you can see, mainly specializing in Szechuan cuisine from the province of Szechuan. So, yeah, I'm going in to eat there. Obviously. What, did you think I was going in there to insert comedic thing that people say here, I don't know. Okay, so I ordered some very delicious looking wonton soup and 2 pork egg rolls. As well as it also comes with what looks to be a honey sauce of some kind and soy sauce. And what I think are authentically made chow mein noodles, which I'm not sure if I'm supposed to actually put them in the wonton soup, but I'll give it a try. So, yeah. Alright. Delicioso. Yeah, finished the whole thing, and I don't know if I ate the noodles right, but either way, it was still fantastic. So, the owner in there recognized me from last time, and because I ordered the same thing, wonton soup, but they said, same as last time, do you want something else with it? And so they offered up egg rolls, or the pork egg rolls. I was like, okay, sure thing. And yeah, damn delicious. And this time, similarly enough, so right across the street, there's this place. Well, if I can ever actually point it in the right direction, right there. Oza, which is a Syrian ice cream parlor and just general dessert shop. Because whoa, they made a sharp turn. But last time I was here, which again, same as Chunbo, about, well now, 3.5 weeks ago when I was first in Laval, when I first got here. I went in here to eat and try, well, Syrian ice cream. At first I thought it was a Turkish ice cream shop because, well, Syrian ice cream and Turkish ice cream, how it's traditionally made, it's known as the non-melting ice cream of the world, both of them. They're apparently, well, Syrian ice cream, it's made in a different process than Turkish ice cream, but it's also a lot firmer. They use water and sugar, and I forget what else the owner of the restaurant, or the, well, worker who was a staff member at the time, what they said how the entire process was, but it takes a long while for it to actually start melting. and it's a lot, kind of like how I described mochi when I was at the Japanese restaurant the other day. It's a lot more pasty and thicker. It's a lot thicker. But last time they did something, the worker who was at, well, who served me inside the restaurant last time, they did something incredibly nice for me. And I'm not going to say what it is because I took a clip of it and it's been sitting in my camera roll for 3.5 weeks now. And I'm going to splice it in here in the editing of this video as the last bit of footage for it, just so you can see what happened. But going inside, I'll just put my phone in my, well, the netted sleeve of my backpack, just to showcase the place and see if the same worker is there, if they recognize me from last time. Again, and also I just want to, well, talk to them about, well, how they are, and what, I guess, a typical day in the business is like. I know I said in the last video I just gave up on, like, interviewing from, well, secretively interviewing different business owners or workers at the restaurant, just because it was too much of a hassle at points, or it seemed like it. Well, I don't know, but, well, whatever. I just think I feel it's appropriate for this one here. So let's go inside, shall we? mango ice cream. I think the other one was just plain yogurt and rose water flavored ice cream topped with pistachios. And I also ordered Iraqi kanaf, which will be out in a bit. But I'll showcase that when I actually am eating it. I know it's a lot of sweets, whatever. These are incredibly authentically made and have a lot healthier ingredients just in terms of for physical health. A lot healthier ingredients in them than the mass amount of refined sugars and fake sweeteners that are used in mass-produced candies. So, I cannot wait to dig into this. I don't even need to say it by this point. Now, obviously, even though it's often referred to as ice cream that doesn't melt, or that it's unmelted, obviously it does melt after some amount of time, but it's a longer process for it to melt, for the heat to actually break down, excuse me, the particles, I guess, that bind it, or loosen them. I don't think, no, I don't know. I'm not a physicist, I don't know if it actually breaks down the particles, so. In terms of the process of making various ice creams around the world. It's a little tougher to grab, just using my arm to hold down the cup. I am a very happy camper. And now I will just wait for when the kanaf is done. Oh Christ, I forgot. So this is the Iraqi kanaf. And it comes, though, I forgot from last time, with 1 scoop of ice cream. I didn't order this extra with that, it just, part of it, part of the order, it comes with it. So they asked me what kind I wanted, and I just said, well, they have strawberry, that's fine enough. So they did. And, well, don't worry, I'm going to eat it as well. But, so, this is the Iraqi kanaf, and it's, well, as I've said, nationality-wise, it originates from Iraq, and I think specifically, oh, I forget the city. Al-Nafa. There's a famous cemetery that's right on the outskirts of the city in Iraq, and I think it's the largest cemetery in the Arab world, if I'm not mistaken. But in terms of its ingredients, obviously it's made with pistachios, and it's obviously slathered in a sugar syrup, but it's a cheese-based dessert, so it's fried cheese, or not fried, well, curded, heated up and curded cheese, and topped with roasted coconut flakes. And it is goddamn incredible. So, I'm gonna dig into this immediately. Fantastic as always. I have nothing but good things to say about these places in terms of food production. I've run out of things like to talk about for this. Oh, never mind. Talking about that actually just brought something into my mind to talk about, which I'll do that after I finish this. Leave me alone for now. Let me enjoy this. Well, I can say that I thoroughly feel sick. Well, a sugar addict in a relapse will be a sugar addict in a relapse. Because, well, yeah, I think ordering a canafe and 2 cups of ice cream, one bigger than the other, was a mistake. Granted, I didn't technically order one. The other one came with the Iraqi kanafe, but oh well. Well, it was delicious. There's a tiny portion of the kanafe left. I was contemplating whether I should just engulf it and get it over with, or quit while I'm ahead, and I'm gonna quit while I'm ahead. So, because I think my amygdala hippocampal pituitary axis has enough cortisol and glycogen rushing to it. So, what I wanted to talk about mainly, I guess, right here. There's a very, very classist, ignorant belief that, because of, you guessed it, capitalism and its mass suppression of financial income and division. Well, in much of contemporary society, especially in the Western world, where there's this idealization of mass overconsumption and just praise and constant great, anomic aphasia has to kick in right now. There's this, hold on a second. Glamified incentive is the wording I'll go with. This glamified incentive to purchase from big businesses, large grocery retailers, or big corporate chain restaurants, especially in fast food, because of this notion that it's somehow cleaner to purchase from them, as if they're able to afford better hygienic products for actually keep maintaining the facilities in terms of hygiene. And that's a notion that is very much present amongst ultra elites, but as well as, sadly, an internalized classism amongst the standardized middle class and even those of lower middle class income, sadly, as well as even amongst those who are in poverty, even those who are homeless. Well, just main point I'll get to. That's a load of complete malarkey. Complete nonsense. As far as I'm concerned, small businesses across the board, whether out of actual genuine care for keeping their facilities cleanly for the customers and their workers, or just out of this what words am I going to look for now for this? How to describe this? Give me another second. CEO-esque perfectionism. I guess that's the wording I'm going to go with. Out of this perfectionist attitude for, well, just appealing to, well, trying to keep it cleanly for customers that come in, or also just for health inspectors. If your country has a regulated through, well, in terms of whatever health ministry or governmental branch deals with health, public health and safety work and surveillance. If they have this, they only keep their facilities cleanly just to appease them. Either way, as far as I'm concerned, small businesses most of them have or try their hardest, at the very least, with what cleaning materials and chemicals that they can afford to purchase. They try their damn hardest to actually keep it as well kept and germ-free as possible in terms of constant sanitization and also once closing hours come, a thorough cleaning of the facilities, as has been prime example here. Every time a customer has left, one of the employees has come out immediately and just sprayed down the tables and washed them just quickly, and then went back to doing whatever other duties they have to maintain. And as in this regard, as far as I'm concerned, it's pretty ironic that many people have this idea as if, well, in relation to mega corporations, as if bigger is better. No, it's not. They have this idea that they're cleaner. They cut budgets constantly, and they create cleaning requirements and policies for their companies to just solely save them on profit. Like, save them from spending, save the corporate executives from spending a load on, not even a load for them technically. This is to save them in whatever way they can on spending finance on cleaning material for their facilities. It's the other way around, despite what people think. They greedy, self-centered, egocentric, sociopathic corporate executives have this pragmatic ideal as if save, so it could just buy us more stuff to fulfill the blank hole in their life that is internalized depression for most of them. Or to help attempt to consciously absolve their trauma by garnering materialistic obsessions for a hedonistic desire. They don't care about keeping their facilities spick and span or keeping them well maintained for human health. They don't. As far as I'm concerned, their food products are mega corporate food companies. Their food products, as I talked about, I somewhat talked about this in Exploring Gatineau Part 2, when I was crossing over the connecting bridge from Ottawa to Gatineau. I'd fair to reckon a majority of the deformities and disabilities that are congenital and gained at birth, and just physiological abnormalities or genetic predisposition issues. It's not fair. I know this as far as from what I've been shown and what I've researched, and what has been very clearly pointed to in evidence in terms of agricultural research and dietary research. The borderline poison and artificial products, compounds, the massively modified and highly refined, processed, chemically enhanced, hormone-enhanced, flavor-induced, whatever else compounds put into their food products, which they manufacture out of their massively self-privatized and self-regulated corporate factory farms, are horrendous for human health. You might not notice them in terms of general consumption at first, but they will have long-lasting effects as people continuously consume them, or effects that will not show up in terms of physiological issues and psychological issues, in terms of how physiological damage can affect psychological health and cognition. They will cause massive effects that will not show up until years later, including cancer. It's one of the main things that's been linked to a variety of processed food products. Various cancerous developments have been linked to corporate slacking in terms of healthcare safety. And also just because they want to make a higher profit, because they know that it can be more addictive to someone's palate. In terms of, well, not only do they lobby in terms of, from as far as I'm concerned, in a multitude of countries around the world, they lobby their governments just to tailor laws for their interest, including that of health and safety inspection Often it's just, well, if you meet these requirements, you're fine to put this product out there. And they'll lie to the public and say that they do massively thorough checks and that it's completely safe, completely tested. Yeah, tested as in it's tested by the scientists and factory laboratory researchers and the food engineering scientists that you pay for. So of course it's completely tested. It absolutely does not serve your interests. And interestingly, most food products, in terms of, the whole there's many countries around the world in terms, well, mainly in North America, in Central America, part of North America, Australia, much of Western Central Europe, I believe South Africa, and, well, Egypt also has it as well, and, well, a variety of countries around the world. The whole food and nutrition safety labels, on the backs of like all your food products. People think, oh well, this was because that initially started, if I'm recalling correctly, because of the whole. Well, it happened at the same time in the United States as the war on drugs. Terror attack, as far as I'm concerned. Cultural terrorism. But it happened around that same time, and basically it was put in place because people were demanding safer, demanding ability to know what was in their food products. I think it might have been started from some amount of Christian religious backing. But so the American government caved and was like, fine, we'll put this in. And that caught on popularity, spanning across the world. Other governments started implementing it, and corporations legally had to adhere to it. But the thing is, so many multitude of governments who are influenced by the mega corporations that put their own people in place in the governments or lobby and fund them and have mass influence over the politicians, either by just manipulation entirely, or they actually are in collusion with them so that the politicians can also make mass profit. Well, there are laws that are specifically tailored to make it so that you don't have to actually, the companies don't actually have to label certain products that are in their food lineup. They don't actually have to label it. Why? Because they're all natural ingredients. Now, because you know how on, like, say, the food labeling, the nutrition labeling on the back often will say, or just on the front of certain products, it'll just say, uses all natural flavors, or things of the sort. Well, here's a little bit of, just ecobiology, I guess it would be for you. Natural doesn't automatically mean good for you. Eating a nightshade fungus from the woods, yeah, it may be a naturally occurring fungus, but, well, unless you want to visit, unless you want to have some quality time with the Grim Reaper, I don't think that's very good for you. So what I'm getting at is they don't actually have to label it as long as it's a natural product in terms of whatever is used in it. Or they can label it and like say what the actual compound in the product is. But, well, people are convinced that all natural means completely and totally harmless to you, which is not true in the slightest. For both physiological health and psychological health. For both. It doesn't automatically mean good. And the laws for the health and safety regulations for nutrition in a multitude of countries, just completely fine with it. It doesn't have to be stated, any potential side effects of these things you're consuming. So, yeah, that's the danger as far as I'm concerned. And in relation, and just another, okay, my hand will stop shaking. Thank you. In relation to, well, back to small businesses about cleanliness. For those who say, well, I've been to very dingy or underkept small businesses, and it very much turned me off because nothing was very well maintained. Okay, yes, obviously there are definitely there are owners who really only care about their own profit, not their workers, and they're still a small business. They're not expansionists, they're not able to keep up mass finance, but they're still egocentric enough to hold on to a majority of financial means, not even bothering to keep care of the facilities. Sure, yes, obviously that happens. Or another possibility as well, in terms of what also happens, but not as much, is that, well, actually, it's in terms of a place being filthy, even when workers are trying to maintain the facilities while not. Simply because of massive privatized oppression, billing, and leasing out of, well, units in terms of a building structure for a business to be placed in with mass amount of rent charges. They can't afford it. They can't afford to actually constantly purchase different cleaning materials. And sometimes they run out and they have to use what they have, but even that sometimes is not enough. So that's another, well, and again, guess who's to blame for that? The capitalist eco-political system, as far as I'm concerned. Alright, I guess some nerve ending in my arm is causing the muscle tendons to twitch. Ooh. Okay. Maybe that'll work. So, yeah, I just wanted to quickly dispel that rumor that no, small businesses are not more likely to be underkept in terms of health and safety. Oh, and also, another rumor regarding small businesses, that a majority of them are used as a front for money laundering. That's not true in the slightest either. Okay, now let me address something. Sure, are there businesses, small and moderate, or larger corporations, that as far as I'm concerned, mega corporations are money laundering schemes. So I don't know what to tell you for that. Mass profiteering, stealing from the common people. I don't know what to tell you for that. So, but in terms of, say, in just more common modern legalities, like, well, businesses needing to have some sort of officiated regulation through the system that is set up to go into operation. Well, for those that are serving as money laundering schemes, to funnel the profit that's made from that small business towards some other activity of some kind that is outlawed, or may not be outlawed, but is just, well, has a higher chance of being subjugated by police and is just kept, well, more under wraps. For those that are, one, yes, that happens. But every time, like, I've heard someone discuss this, no one bothers to actually look at the reasons for why that's happening. Because maybe the business they have in terms of the small business, if it wasn't initially set up as a money laundering scheme, well, maybe it then became that as just a shell corporation or a shell company. Well, because they weren't able to keep up with financial payments, or because of psychological issues by whoever is conducting the scheme. Well, as far as I'm concerned, that most of that comes from psychological disorder. But in terms of both the subjugation and the morally questionable means of, well, racking in profit. As far as I'm concerned, okay, for whatever reason, nobody bothers to, and also includes just cultural oppression for various groups, that in terms of financial classism, might feel that they have no other means of, or quite literally have no other means of making in terms of needed resources, livable income other than doing this. Whatever reason it is, regardless, nobody bothers, it seems, in so many multitude of instances, to actually look at why it's happening. Like, why is this place being used as a money laundering scheme? So, and on top of that, the majority of small businesses are not that. I will say that right now. That is a part of globalized social paranoia. The psychosociological theory of that, as far as I'm concerned. So, okay. You know, I think I'll try to pick up some more soap than shampoo, or just soap today, and then see if I can go have a shower at that gym. Yeah. Alright. I'll go do that. Okay, so last stop for today is Cali. And this place is another fusion restaurant, and it's a very, very interesting one. It's a fusion restaurant between Mexican, Colombian, Peruvian, and Black Western American cuisine. fusion between all of those, or at least it has influence from all those different, well, nationalities and their dishes. And in terms of the name, at first I thought it might have been referencing, considering they do sell Colombian food to some degree, or incorporate it into their, well, their menu items. I thought it might be, well, named after the Colombian city of Cali in, well, the southwestern portion of Colombia. But now that I'm thinking about it, it could also mean, well, considering there's Black American cultural cuisine, is specifically from the west coast of USA, it could also just be referencing the American state of California, because, well, West Coast theme culture to some degree. So, I'm not sure. I could go in and ask. There's also a sushi restaurant in the lower half of this, well, building complex. And I don't... Totopo Tacos. I don't know if that's just stating that Cali has a dish that's called Totopo Tacos, or a taco dish of some kind, or if there's another restaurant in here that I'm not seeing, and that's the name of it. But I'll go and find out. Okay. Trying to think of something to say as I walk into the restaurant. Okay, I checked that box off the list of what I need to say for this video. Okay, so correction, I was wrong. So apparently it's actually not a fusion between, well, it is a fusion restaurant, but not between, it's a fusion, Cali is a fusion between Colombian, Peruvian, and West Coast Black American cuisine. But not Mexican, so I was wrong about that. And apparently, Totopo Tacos is a separate restaurant, right, literally in the same shared leased space of the building, just right on the opposite side. I thought it was just another kitchen station, but, well, here, I'll turn the camera. So, this side over here is Cali's kitchen station. Over there is Totopo Tacos. That's the Mexican restaurant. And they just have shared, well, operation space. So, my mistake. Alright, so what I got was, I believe, a fusion dish of fried chicken doused in cheese sauce with, I believe, just chili powder and, well, chili powder and maybe some, oh, what's the other one? Not habanero is a type of chili powder. Well, chili powder, and I believe chives on top of it, and underneath, macaroni and cheese. And I've had this before. Obviously, I've been here. Again, first week that I was in Laval. And this is one of the best food dishes I've ever had anywhere. So, yeah. I'm very, very excited to eat this again. Still holds up. Still stand by what I said. It's one of the best food dishes I've ever had. And again, what I said earlier in the video about not in terms of fried food products, how you can tell in terms of the care that's put into it when it's only a little bit deep fried. Well, if I can turn it, see? Not too much of a crust on it. It's very lightly fried.
also some breadcrumbs at the bottom that I didn't notice before. They're delicious too. Something I'll talk about here that I'm also, well, there's one thing I wanted to talk about here, because why not? Just a general thing. Then there was also a thought that I had something else to say. Oh, yes, okay. That just sprung back into my memory recall there. Okay. So, I've experienced so much recently, I guess, because, well, when I was in Le Chute, Quebec, when I was on a phone call with one of my friends back in Toronto, I had told him about how in literally just since leaving Ottawa and getting to Le Chute, I had done so much in my days that that didn't sound good. But anyway, I had done so much in my days that they've started to, even more than before, with my dissociation, which is still much better than before, thanks to my theory of mental dissociation as a result of parasympathetic, amygdala, and temporal malfunction from perceived environmental threats. But anyway, I'd done so much in my days leading up to getting to Le Chute that they felt as if they had been months ago. My perception of time has been, and still right now, currently, is at points very, very muddled. And I know just psychologically why that is, because, well, stimulation of various environmental, well, reactions to all the things that I've been doing. How much? Just on the basis, not even well, obviously, cognitively, it definitely has to do with what I'm doing, but just how much I've done in all my days since leaving Ottawa. And in relation to that, in filming clips for this video, which in terms of this one clip, which was short, I've now deleted, and I'm not going to put it into the video, because I didn't forget, but I experienced what's called in neurology neuromisattribution, which I'll explain what that is in a second. When I was back down towards the well, more towards the southern end of St. Mark, at that diner that I had gone to in the last video, Galleria, that I had showcased. I had originally filmed a clip correcting myself on the name of the place, which today I just went through the video and I saw that when I was in Wi-Fi. But days earlier in filming clips for this video, which, well, I had initially hoped that this video was just going to be the end of the last video, but that didn't end up happening, so I filmed a clip of me by that big plaza right by the McDonald's and, well, that diner, Galleria. And once I got over to the stoplight, I again said, oh, I should correct myself, and filmed it and said, like, the name of this diner is not what I said it was before. It's Galleria. But if you saw the last video, I had already done that briefly in a quick clip. So, and when I saw that, I got a little scared because I thought, well, damn, I knew that even if it was memory issues, if I forgot, then it was my psychosomatic memory issues, or maybe some amount of my sugar addiction, the relapse, or just overstimulation of the hippocampus in terms of external stimuli, and for whatever reason, I forgot, or that's what I thought. But oh, and what I'll also bring up is I recently rewatched a bit of my scientific proposal videos, and in part 4, I actually did talk about, in relation to part 6 that I made in Gatineau. Part 4, I did at the beginning briefly talk about and discuss my theory of coming morality formation, which I then talked about again, unbeknownst to me, in my scientific proposal videos, my part 6 of them, when I was at the bus station in Gatineau, where I elaborated far more on my analysis and thought process behind that theory in that video. But once I saw that, I was like, oh damn, I did already talk about it. I thought I had initially forgotten to talk about that one along with the other ones in part 6. The dilemma of unintentional interpretations in representative interpretive art, suffering reaffirmation / depressive comfortization, the paradox of pessimism, and specifically intrinsic moral practicality. But what happened there again is I don't think I forgot. I think I experienced neuromisattribution. So what exactly is that in neurology, or specifically I guess as well in neuropsychology? So neuromisattribution is when cognitively, in terms of gain conceptual knowledge of whatever it may be, various things, just something that, a concept that is cognitively known to you, where you have a moment that you in terms of what you're attributing something to, you basically misplace wording in terms of semantic memory, and just also in relation to word finding, frontal cortex ability. You misattribute the name or word or title of something to a thing that is related to a similar concept that you're talking about or you're discussing of what you know. So you don't, and it's not like you think, like in terms of, further explaining in terms of cognition, it's not like you believe or you've forgotten that, in terms of memory, that that thing is called this, or that this concept is, or this is the other section of that known concept. It's not like you've forgotten that. It's where just vocally, in terms of when you're, in terms of articulation, you're just misattributing something. So basically, what's an example I could give of this? Municipalities, let's say, in terms of geography. Let's say you're in, for easy sake, Laval. You're visiting the city of Laval, Quebec, Canada. So you know that it's a city. It's, in terms of population size and building structure units, in terms of what's within its municipal borders, it's large enough geographically to be constituted as a cityscape. But say you're with, like, on a road trip or something, and you're driving to Laval, and you say to your friend, because say you're tired and you're getting dreary, it's a long car ride, maybe you're getting towards night, and your melatonin receptors within your midbrain, in the brainstem, and within the midbrain, and hypothalamus as well. Hypothalamus, projection of consciousness. Anyway, melatonin receptors are starting to kick in, and you're starting to become drowsy, and you're just kind of talking with your friends that are on this road trip with you, and you look at the directions, say on a GPS or a map, and you're like, oh, we should reach the town. We should reach the town of Laval in like 2 hours, or you say maybe the village of Laval, something that you misattribute the word, and then your friend corrects you, like, don't you mean the city? It's a city, the city of Laval. And then you're like, oh, you're right, the city of Laval. Or maybe no one corrects you, and you're just like, oh, we'll reach the town in however long. Oh, no, I meant city. We'll reach the city of Laval. So conceptually, you know it's the same thing in terms of, like, just general location-wise. It's a place. It's a municipal. It's a municipal territory of some kind. It's an administrative district that's a part of a divided up country of some kind within, say, province, state, region, labeled territory, but whatever else, it's a place of some kind. And you know conceptually, in terms of conceptual knowledge, that we have these varying different labels and titles for geographical distinction in terms of border division in the modern world, and how historically that has been implemented. So, in terms of conceptual knowledge, you were correct that it's a place, what it is, but you misattributed it to being a town, word-wise, rather than a city. And in terms of what I did, let's go with my scientific proposal videos. Granted, for the 5 that I initially made, I was getting tired because I pulled an all-nighter to make those videos, and I edited the description of part 4 and part 6 to say this, because I was pulling an all-nighter, getting tired, trying to articulate myself as best as possible, and I was trying to share and vocalize the concepts I was talking about, and my theories and implementations, just my thoughts on all this, as concisely as I could, whilst getting tired late into the morning, into the next day,
and then at the same time, at points, stopping the footage and packing things to get moving out of Ottawa, Ontario. So, and when I made part 6, because I knew, well, there were some things that I missed. I think I didn't forget that I had talked about coming morality formation. I think I was misattributing it to my other theory relating to morality of intrinsic moral practicality, which I had already known in part 5, because I said, well, I missed this, and I kind of briefly stated what it was. But then I guess, because when the days went on, I thought, okay, so I missed, because I was thinking, I guess, conceptually of that theory relating to moral practicality in philosophy that I made, and I thought, okay, it's that one, and it's also this one, coming morality formation in neuropsychology and philopsychology and neurobiology. But it wasn't. I was just misattributing, probably based upon the title from, well, the concept got ingrained into my mentality, I guess. When I was very tired, I thought, okay, I gotta do this as well because of the title. So I misattributed it and ended up talking about it again. But granted, in part 6, I also went into far more depth, I think, than in part 4 of explaining it. I think the same thing happened with Galleria, correcting the name of the diner. So, thought I would explain that while I'm finishing off this very, very delicious meal. Oh, and, oh, yes, nearly, okay, now, I didn't forget this time. I think I nearly got just distracted. Cognitively, I got lost in thought there for a second. In relation to everything I've said about, well, in relation to small businesses, but also in terms of actually, no, you know what? In relation to this, that deserves a separate video. It's something I've been thinking about for a while.
That does sound like Jason.
Separate video. Never mind. But I will state, for anyone who's thinking, hey Cam, it doesn't seem like from the clips you've shown there's much gentrification going on in this area of Laval. Sure, you've talked about the financial subjugation, mentioned about how there's constant police patrolling in this area, and, well, this general oppression under capitalism for these businesses. But it doesn't seem that there's much mass corporate expansionism in this area, right? And on top of that, there is a Tim Hortons just a few blocks down. And then there's that McDonald's. Oh, as well as there's a restaurant literally basically just across the road called Amir, which is a moderate Canadian shawarma themed in terms of food cuisine. So Mediterranean, Middle Eastern themed restaurant chain. Oh, here's something though that I will actually throw in. So, actually, you know what? First, I'm going to eat a bit more.
Just screw you. I'm hungry. Okay, so I finished eating, and then I completely forgot what I wanted to talk about again, and now I got it back. But my phone is at 2%. It is dying, so I'm going to do this quick. In regards to my bottle of soap that was stolen, or just whoever took it, well, might have needed it for whatever reason, or thought they did, and thought, okay, someone might have just abandoned it here, and I'll just snatch it. For those of you who are saying, oh, this is proof that you need to watch your belongings better, I should be very cautious of where I leave my things, especially if I'm homeless and on the streets. Be very protective of my general gear and belongings. No, that's globalized social paranoia still. I'll tell you why, at least as far as I'm concerned, and why I'm not overly worried about, given the fact that all my gear in my tent and sleeping equipment have been sitting in that grass field in the southwestern end of the downtown area for the last few days. One, seemingly nobody's ruffled with it or tried taking it. And two, I have left my items, not even just like something like my wagon, Cardi B, and other just sleeping gear, not just that, just unlocked, just in front of places, and I've walked a few feet away from it. I've also left general items like my phone and my charger, and even my diagrams just sitting on tables, sometimes like say in a restaurant, or in the public library. Even the other day when I went to go use the washroom, I was charging my devices, and I just left it out with people in the library, and I walked down the corridor to get to the washroom and used it for about maybe 6 minutes, and when I came back, they were there. So what I'm saying is, how many times have I done that compared to how many times has someone actually tried to take my things, or how many times have my things gone missing? Once now, compared to I've usually done it, especially even when I was staying in Ottawa at points with my belongings and exploring and sleeping on the streets. Done it over at least 70 times by now. So no, it's not a reason to be overprotective of my items. Okay, I just wanted to state that. So no, I'm not using that as fearful fuel for keeping a close grip and close eye on my belongings. Yeah, okay. Last restaurant I will showcase, which, as far as I'm concerned, I've saved the best for last. I'll do that tomorrow. So, see you then.
Well, there's another sight that you don't see every day. Well, thank God the drivers are being very courteous. As they should be. Well, I can safely say that today has been a rather good morning, and now going over into the afternoon. I was able to actually get a shower today at that gym branch, which I'm not going to say the name of in case, well, considering the employees, 2 different ones now, having gone 2 times, technically aren't supposed to let me do that without paying or having a membership. I'm not going to say what the branch is, so that they potentially don't get, well, so that they don't potentially get fired. Probably shouldn't have been standing there anyway. But last stop to showcase in, well, this 2-part documentary series, I guess, of various small business restaurants. L'Avenue. This place culturally is a Black Canadian and Black American culturally inspired place, influences of hip-hop and rap culture, as well as also influenced by West Coast American culture just in general, with some amount of Toronto influence for Canada and Vancouver influence, I'd say, just aesthetically. And they have 3 branches, 1 here and 2 in Montreal. And I don't know if this was the original one, or if, well, one of the 2 in Montreal was the original. But, well, I can go in and ask. But I am very excited for what I'm going to order here. And yeah, I'll show you when I get in. Alright, so I forgot to mention, and I also didn't really take into account the first time that I was here, that it's also very clearly highly culturally inspired by a LGBTQ plus, well, aesthetic, plus that of some amount of East Coast American culture and Mexican culture, especially with certain designs, kind of reminiscent of Day of the Dead celebration, as well as German and Swiss culture, as the servers, some of them, are wearing a lederhosen. And also, just in terms of waiter attire and waitress, some are wearing what would be considered, I guess, just more downtown urban Canadian style clothes, just overall. But I specifically waited because they brought out one of the drink that I ordered first, but I haven't tasted any of it yet because I specifically just wanted to showcase it in the footage. Look at this. So what I ordered, and I got this last time, this is a northern African dish, mainly common from what I looked up later in Libya and Algeria, called red shushuka, and it's, well, turned over eggs in a sauce similar to that. It kind of tastes similar to that of salsa, but more of a chili. I guess it's more chili remnants in it, with multigrain bread, and this is, I think, their signature touch to it, and some potatoes. And then here we have the best fucking pancakes I've ever had in my life. These are lemon poppy seed pancakes with blueberry dressing and some lemon biscuit crumbles on the top. And it also comes with whipped cream, but I decided not to order that this time, as well as their own signature, I guess, maple syrup. And in terms of here, the drink I got, it's a smoothie that's pineapple, coconut milk, ginger, maple syrup in it, and what's the main thing? The green. Oh yes, spinach, baby spinach. Now, I don't like, obviously from a medical standpoint, I don't like the name detox. I know why it's called that, but yeah, but just in terms of the actual drink, it looks fantastic. I haven't had it yet, but just take it in. And also, I'm just going to pan the camera around in terms of the general aesthetic of the place. I am going to savor this greatly, very much. And then I'll continue talking after I chow down on this. This is, hands down, the best food I've ever had in my life, as far as I'm concerned. You can tell that all the ingredients used for the most part, are barely artificial at the very most. And it's incredible. I was actually, and when they handed me the menu, I was actually wrong. Apparently there's 4 branches of this restaurant chain. And I looked on the map, and apparently they have one location here in Laval, this one, 2 in Montreal, like I said, and then they have one, interestingly enough, in Jeddah, Saudi Arabia, which was, given the location, given the location of the first 3, and also the actual size of the company, it's not, again, what I looked up about them, they are not a mega corporation at all. With how much with them having now 4 branches, it might be getting close to being that of a moderate. And obviously I don't know the CEO or the head executive's net worths, but well, I think you get the point I'm trying to make. But yeah, they have a location that they opened up in Jeddah, Saudi Arabia, and not even in the downtown area or a tourist, a very high tourist area of the city. Just an area close to the suburbs of Jeddah. It's just in a plaza next to some other restaurants, which is very interesting. Now, I know what you're probably saying. Cam, isn't this a little hypocritical? You don't like, obviously, aggressively expansionist corporations. Well, A, this place isn't aggressively expansionist. 4 locations is not a huge amount for small businesses, trust me. But also, yes, morally, I am not obviously for their decision to open up even so much as more than 1 branch, even if they initially needed or were trying to make a bit more profit to maybe keep up with living expenses, the actual, well, founders of the company. But, well, even so, for whatever reason, the owners decided to, and it was only actually, from what I looked up, because they even displayed on the menu the different locations and time dates of the years that each branch was opened up. And apparently, so this isn't the initial branch. The initial first branch that opened in 1994 was in Montreal in the Plateau district. And then it was only in recent years that it seems that, well, considering it wasn't a quick or even gradual, or like, well, financially building up, but like gradual opening up of one store, then the next, then the next, then the next, like year after year after year, or maybe like every 5 years. No, it was actually a very recent thing that the other 3 opened up. First one was in 1994, then the second one in Montreal was in 2017. And then this one here in Laval was 2021. No. Actually, this one was the last one to open up. This one was 2022. And then the one in Jeddah, Saudi Arabia, was 2021. So, yeah. Fairly recent for the expansionism that took place. But either way, for whatever reasons that the owners decided to, well, buy up more property and for whatever reason they decided to open up more branches. It's clear that on a restaurateur level, in terms of actually providing a community with food, like in terms of a hospitality service, and in terms of the cultural aesthetic of their locations, because I also looked on the maps, like the designs of each restaurant. Yes, they have similar thematics, obviously, but they're not concretely the same in terms of each place's design. It's very clear that they have a lot of care for what they do, and a lot of passion. And as far as I'm concerned, this place, just even so much as this one branch alone, is the definition of multiculturalism. Actual, genuine multiculturalism. Not the performative bullshit that mass Canadian corporate conglomerates and the Canadian government will have you think in terms of how they praise a neoliberalism and also with their neoliberal fascist rhetoric. So, I'm gonna just end this video on that note. But after this clip, what I did is I started doing this when I was in the St. Rose district in the northern end of Laval. I was taking just quick video footage, and they've just been sitting in my camera roll for about 2 weeks to 2.5 weeks. I took just some short clips of various other small business restaurants that I wanted to also splice in, well, somewhere in this little documentation series, this two-parter. And yeah, that's what I'll do. So it'll be spliced in at the end of this, along with, as I said, a incredibly kind gesture that the, well, I don't know if you can see it down there, but an employee at Bosa, the Syrian ice cream parlor, did for me when I first got here. to Laval and ate at the restaurant. So I'll put that in at the end. So, yeah, just I'll just leave it at that. Surprise. Yeah, sorry, I know I had intended that the last clip to be the send-off for the video, but then as I was finishing off my meal, I just recalled that I also wanted to shout out some restaurants, small business restaurants that I've visited in the northern end of Laval particularly, but I didn't get any footage for them in terms of just quick clips that will be at the end of this video after this clip. So Vermont Pizza, it's a pizzeria that's just in southern central Vermont, in the northeastern end of Laval, and it's primarily Canadian themed as well as Italian influence to it, with some Greek food that they sell as well. Out of my mouth here. Grape Shop, which is in just the center area of the Vermont district as well, and as the name implies, they specialize in making French crepes with a whole load of different flavors and it's very much Quebecois themed culturally in terms of, well, what is put on the crepes, just varying recognizable candy brands, things of the sort, and well, yeah, so, and they make it, well, right there in their small little kitchen unit that's just in the front of the shop. So, yep, I recommend them as well. This one's a bit interesting. Azuri Cafe, which is right across from the crepe shop. Now, I'm only recommending this place because they make fantastic coffee. I got the mochas that they serve, and they're so good that I had two in the same day, small cup. Recommending it because of that, as well as the barista who served me. They were very nice, as well as one of the general, I guess, maybe janitor or just general maintenance workers that was there when I was there. Both of them were very nice, and they were obviously busting their asses. And I gave the barista a $10 tip just for them to keep. And if I ever go, when I swing back around to that area of the city, once I'm done here, and make my way through the rest towards southwestern Laval and then go back up and around, I'm gonna stop by there again and see if they were allowed to keep the tip, because I sat in the actual cafe and just had a few phone calls with some people I know just to catch up with them, and also I was just reviewing my diagrams for my theories, because I have them in my backpack, as well as reading over just the printed out versions of the unfinished printed versions of my theories. And after a while, the apparent owner of the cafe came in and started speaking to me in Quebecois French in very authoritative tone, and I obviously had to say, "Je ne parle pas français, anglais," and they're like, "Okay, you speak English?" And I was like, "Yep." And they're like, "Okay, buddy, you got to get out of here." And this, I'm no exaggeration, this is what they said. "All right, what are you doing here? You just sitting? You've been sitting here for how long? What, 4 hours?" And he's like, "This is not a lounge. This isn't a McDonald's. This isn't a Tim Hortons. This is you come into my bar and you just want to sit down and just do nothing? You gotta buy something if you're gonna be here." And then I told them, well, I purchased 2 mochachinos and drank them. And then they were just like, "Yeah, when was that? What, 5 hours ago? 8 in the morning?" And I was going to say, no, what is it, about, by then it had been about 2. I got there at, I believe, either 10 or 11, so 12, 1, 2, 3 hours or so, 3.5 hours. And I was like, well, okay, if you want me to leave, then I'll leave. And like, yeah, you don't come in here, you don't just sit down, you don't do nothing. You gotta just get out, pack your things, and go. And that's verbatim what they said. So obviously they were, as far as I'm concerned, personality-wise and behavior, and aggressive dominant. So I'm gonna go back there, and actually I want to see, I'll ask if they took the tip from the barista. I hope they didn't, cause, well, that was for them, asshole. If so, I hope they got to keep the tip. But so I only recommend them for everyone other than the owner, who very clearly is just, has opened this small business just clearly to make profit off of. So as well as I recommend, what is it? Oh, I'm not gonna say this right. Le Flambier? It's at the intersection at the same area that Azuri Cafe and the Crepe Shop are in central Vermont, as well as Shawarma Max, which is right next to Azuri. Or it's maybe 2 units down, but they're a Lebanese Turkish themed restaurant, and their food is fantastic. They're in a small little, just a small building space. That's and on that, it actually, oh, it was no, it was the day after. It was the day after. It wasn't the same day that I went to Azuri. It was the day after I decided to eat there and just charge my devices, and it was pouring rain at that time for most of the day, so I just sat in there and chilled after I ate, and they even offered me some Lebanese sweets, some little sugar cookies. I had some, and they also gave me Turkish coffee in this small little cup, and it was delicious. So yeah, they were much, much nicer and welcoming than the owner of Azuri. So go check them out as well. Shawarma Max is their name, in the same area of Vermont. As well as in Vermont, I mentioned this, I believe, I showed them in a Exploring Laval Part 2. Yeah, it was, no, it was Part 3, because I lost the footage that was going to be a part of Part 2. Part 3. La Santo, Portuguese restaurant, and Chumin, one of the two, I believe, Vietnamese restaurant that's up there. And so yeah. Then as well as in St. Rose, in the St. Rose district, Cocoloco is just a Canadian breakfast diner that is in the central area of St. Rose, and I visited it on, well, the morning that I went through House 265 at St. Rose Boulevard after I had gone away from the area and left the house. As well as I also, that same day, I ate at, it was a Turkish restaurant. What was the name of it? Fuck. Well, I showcased it in Exploring Ottawa part. Fuck, not Ottawa. Neuromisattribution again. Laval, in Exploring Laval Part 1. And then, also in St. Rose, Uni Burger. It's an American-themed burger restaurant, small burger joint in a very thin renting space in Plaza, just again in central St. Rose. Delicious burgers. And as well as a Syrian restaurant in the same plaza called Nazareth. And they have an amazing salad bar with an incredible apple and beet salad that is delicious. It's one of the best salads I've ever had. Any place else? Not that I can think of right now. So, anyway, just there's that shout out. And obviously, after what I've said throughout this video and Exploring Laval Part 4, last video, it's clear to me now that this city, well, definitely, absolutely, as of my current thought process, it has the best cuisine collectively out of any place I've ever traveled to so far within Canada. It's absolutely outstanding. And mark my words, I don't care how impoverished I get financially. Unless I have no other options for food choices, I will never again eat at a fucking McDonald's, Burger King, Tim Hortons, A&W, Wendy's. Are there... Yeah, there's Olive Gardens. I know there's like maybe one or two in Toronto. I don't know if there are anywhere else in fucking Canada. I'm sure there are. Freshie, never again. So yeah, that's all I have to say. I'm gonna get this video uploaded because tonight I'm gonna be going into the downtown area and filming yet another video, and that'll take up the entirety of the night. So, okay, bye. So sorry, I'm a little I'm just amazed right now. I'm gonna slap this clip on at the end of one of the coming Exploring Laval videos that I make. So I just ate I'm along a main road in what's apparently called the St. Martin district of the city. And I just ate at a Syrian ice cream parlor called Buza. And the food there was delicious. It's authentically made, incredibly well made. And the person who was, while I was there right now, managing the cash and also taking orders, I don't know if they're just an employee there or they're the owner of the establishment, but so I ordered one ice cream, and then I ordered Iraqi kafa, I believe it's, no, not kafka, an Iraqi dessert that they sold as well. And in total, all of it cost me about well, about $30. And I sat in there after I was done eating, just charging my phone, and I had a bit of a nap, just lying my head down on the table. Then I got ready to leave, and I stepped out here, and the person who took my order was standing outside the restaurant as well, and they noticed my wagon here, and they said to me, "I'm sorry, just out of curiosity, is this yours?" And I said, yes, it's mine. And they told me, I don't want to assume anything. I don't want to try and, it wasn't exact wording, but basically I don't want to try and generalize, like, based on, like, what you're wearing or anything, or I'm not trying to impose on you and just assume that you're in a desperate situation, but if you are, I'd like to give you the money that you paid for your meal back. And I was like, really? Are you sure you can keep the money? They're like, no, here, I can give it back. And, well, right now, I didn't put up any protests. I didn't really feel like protesting their offer, and I was like, I'm okay. And thank you so much. So, I don't... Honest to God, I don't know what else to say to that at this moment. I think I'll just let that sit with people and myself for a bit there.